Hey guys, it's been a while since I did an intro like this. How have you been? Don't ask that. That's stupid. Anyways, come check this out. See this little guy? He's super duper cute, isn't he? Completely harmless. He couldn't do anything wrong. He has 1,000 health. Now take a look at this gal. She seems kind of nice in like a mysterious sort of way, right? She's a boss that will not hesitate to absolutely vaporize you. These are just a couple of the enemies that I've been dealing with in the wondrous world of Lunar Veil, a mod that closely resembles Starlight River, but with the same lengthy gameplay as Calamity. I got to play with some cool weapons, wear some sick armors, and even learn about all the bosses before absolutely demolishing them. This mod was super duper fun to play, and I would actually recommend this to anybody until the end of the mod, when everything just sucks. As soon as I loaded in, some strange lady started speaking to me, and she told me that we're going to restore balance to this world. And by we, she just meant me. Her name was Cyrestius, I don't know, but I'm just going to be referring to her as Sire from now on. And she basically hired me as a hitman to execute anybody in this world with power. Sire also said to meet up with her on the map, and she would tell me what to do next. But when I opened the map, I was very overwhelmed. Like what the hell is a dread monolith or the magical engineer Delagrim? Anyways, I walked like 5 steps to the right to get away from some pumpkin slime that was chasing me, and everything was suddenly sparkling. I continued walking a bit further and ran into some camp where I was blessed with heavenly light and decided that this was a good place to open the starter bag that Sire gave me. Inside was a finch staff, a rune and brooch jewelry station, a rock, a Zixian flask, a healthy insourced, and a Diari brooch. The brooch gave me some starter buffs, the rune and brooch jewelry station was pretty obviously some sort of crafting station, the healthy insource healed 35 of my health with only a 40-second duration, and the Zixian flask was it was literally the flask of Wondrous Psychic from Elden Ring, and if you don't know what that is or what it does, it's basically a potion that you can imbue different effects onto, such as the healthy insource. Oh, I also have this letter called Sire's Mail that allows me to contact her directly so that she can help guide me. After examining my loot, I started heading into the camp to check it out when a tribal priest with a whopping 400 health stopped me in my tracks. I then started getting some wood like I should have done from the very beginning when another tribal priest tried to crucify me, but I managed to take care of this one. Thanks to that tribal priest for attacking me, I ran into a very magical looking village to the left known as the Witch Town, filled with these natural witches, and at the end of it was some super tall lady named Zui the Traveler. She had a shop mainly full of armors and quests for me to do. Zui wanted me to take this bag she gave me and fill it up with various plants and then return it to her for rewards, so I grabbed a bunch of them and continued exploring. I ended up finding a perfection staff that shot a bunch of these really pretty projectiles that did pretty much no damage at all, but they could travel through walls, so I used it for now. I also made an Iviakin staff that summoned a small little guy to fight for me. I wandered on back to the camp known as the Fable on day 2, but it was blocked off by a door that I couldn't open yet, so I just stacked around it and found Jack's shrine. I tried to, I think, summon whoever Jack is, but he only said a wandering essence can elude my presence, only for you, Gothivia. I had no idea who Gothivia was, but I had a pretty good idea of where I could find her. I then found these statues that said to break them, so I did, and I got 3 life crystals from it, which was pretty awesome, but I got slaughtered for doing so. I was very confused as to what I was supposed to actually be doing, so I hit up Sire and she told me to use that rock that she gave me to descend and fight the old guardian, and that after this guardian was defeated, an army would come and raid me. I trusted what Sire said and used the rock to teleport directly into this old guardian's arena, but it also served as a cave, so I went mining. There were new creatures littered everywhere, but the one that scared me the most was the Steeru. This guy not only had 380 health, but also dealt over 100 damage a hit, and anytime I was mining it would appear, so eventually I just gave up and continued exploring to the left. There wasn't anything new for a bit until I reached the snow biome, and this place was crawling with new baddies, but thankfully they had nowhere near as much health as the other enemies I'd been dealing with. All of the enemies dropped winterborn shards that could be used to make a whole bunch of new things, but the only one I cared about was the new summons, so I got to farming. I got myself plenty of winterborn shards by the time it was day 3 and used them to make an icebound staff that summoned winterborn bats, and these bats only took up half a minion slot, but for some reason I can only summon 1. I don't know why I can summon 2. I also used the shards to make full winterborn armor because it granted me increased mana regeneration, an extra 20 health, 10% increased movement speed, 8 defense, and the set bonus gave me up to 3 icicles that orbit around me for protection. I felt badass enough to continue exploring, and after a bit I came across another village and fell for the oldest trick in the book. Well, I'm dead. I fell down, I'm dead. After walking all the way back, I was greeted by somebody named Martins, and he was just another shopkeeper. I then came across another shopkeeper named Veldris the Calm Assassin. I robbed him and got the twin witch's mistletoe out of it, and it was pretty fire. I walked just a little bit further and found Sire herself inside a rundown tower, and she told me to go kill the Stone Guardian, take out the army, and then defeat the army's commander, Ginsia. At the top of her tower, I found a note that was really long, but it just basically said Siegfried, a former lord of Valuria and the Lunar Tree, belonged to the Sepsis family. He was once a vigilante seeking peace, but became corrupted after merging his body with a powerful pulsar fragment, a singularity stolen from Lunar Veil. This caused Siegfried to lose control, destroying the world and killing Phoenix's parents, which led to her rise in power. His actions resulted in his exile, and he was sealed within a pulsing key deep underground by Zui the Traveler. Siegfried's brother now holds the throne in Alernia, while Siegfried remains a figure of potential danger. I continued exploring to the left, where I found a couple of rundown houses with pretty much nothing in them and an enchanted sword before returning home. I spent all of day 4 finally building myself a house with the most awful looking NPC housing I've ever built in my life. Oh, and from the night prior I got myself a Shade Hand Tome that fires these flaming hands, and it was pretty fire. I really need to get some basic Terraria stuff done, so I spent all of day 5 doing some lame-ass mining, you know, getting iron, fighting monsters, destroying horrifyingly huge flowers, the basics. I got a new summon while I was at it called String and Brooch that forms a string shield around me and summons temporary minions that last around 10ish seconds. I also got a bunch of other materials while I was down there, like condensed dirt, spring mushrooms, unknown circuitry, alkaliz metal, variant ore, frial ore, and many others. Once I returned to the surface on day 6, I noticed a new NPC had shown up named Zieli, and she had a shop just like every other NPC in this mod, but what made her stand out was that I could marry her. Like literally marry her, but she told me to wait till the world was all fine, till I fixed up the world. I even tried proposing with this old wedding ring that I found while I was underground mining, but no dice. Zieli was selling an item called Steely, and it provided a small dash that granted invincibility for the duration of the dash, but her shop only took ruin metals as a currency, so thankfully I had gotten a handful while mining, and the Steely was literally just a better version of the Shield of Cthulhu. I then figured it was about time to take out that old guardian, so I tickled the rock that Sire gave me and summoned the Stone Guardian. And I took that guy out in seconds. Like literally seconds. Dude, I was way over prepared for that fight. The hardest part of that fight was being swarmed by the Steerus right after the old guardian died. All I got from the Stone Guardian was a stone key, and apparently it's used to unlock the chest in the old Guardian's shrine, but I never used it. When I returned to the surface, I was being raided by the Gints army, and these guys did not play nice. I might take out these. Oh, yep, a boss is here. Oh my god. It's the commander of them all. Get him. Get him. Get him. Oh my god. Kill his ass. Kill his ass. Oh my god. Kill his ass. That is hell. Commander Gintsia is dead. Oh my god, he was so easy. Commander Gintsia dropped a Shinobi Tome that was pretty freaking epic, and a Gint's Brooch that gave me 4 defense and added an auto swing to every item, but since I was heading in the direction of a summoner mage class, I didn't use it. Also, since my String and Brooch had been destroying literally everything it came into contact with, I decided to retire the item and not use it for the rest of this playthrough. With all the chaos being over for now, I bought a forest pylon from Humphrey and stuffed the flowers that I had gotten into the bags that Zui gave me and gave it back to her, and in return she gave me a bunch of random stuff like healing potions and more ruin metals, but all I cared about were the quest leaves that I got because they were required in a lot of different recipes in this mod. She also gave me a box of leaves that dealt summon damage and shot trails of leaves that homed in on enemies, and it was really good. It was really freaking good. I started researching all the things I could make on day 7 and eventually came across the Celestia Moon armor set that would give me more minion slots, and I needed it. So I gathered up all the materials that I had for it, and all I needed were more shooting stars. Later on, I asked Sire what I should be doing now, and she told me to head to the Fable and to also do some quests for Zui, but I had already done a few, so I was just going to head to the Fable. I headed on over to the Fable, and I hadn't gone into this big pyramid thing in the middle because there were spikes all over it, and my brain just assumed that they were the Jungle Temple spikes because they kinda looked like them, but it turns out they were just wooden spikes, just plain old wooden spikes, so I broke them and hopped into the hole. Thankfully there was water at the bottom, but this place was pretty much just for the looks. Like, there wasn't anything of significance down here, well, other than the room with the ruined tablet that was asking to be disturbed. So I disturbed it and greatly regretted doing so. When I respawned, I spent the rest of the night flattening the area surrounding my house because I just hated how bumpy it was. On day 8, I wanted to fight the next boss, Sunstalker, but I needed to make a sunstone which required antlion mandibles, but before that, I went back down to where that ruined tablet was and tried fighting the boss again since I did pretty good the first time around, but I had no luck. I then headed on over to the desert to get the antlion mandibles, but the entrance to the underground desert was replaced with these little sand hills that I had to mine into and hopefully choose the right one, but it was very hard to get anything done with all of these goddamn tornadoes that kept spawning. While searching for the right sandhill, I came across the sun altar that's actually needed to summon the sunstalker, and under it was a chest filled with a whole bunch of random shit, including an ocean artifact that said to take it to someone named Gia. Eventually, I made it to the underground desert, found a sick-ass swarmer staff, got the antlion mandibles, finally got enough shooting stars to make full Celestia moon armor because it gave me 2 more minion slots, and made the sunstone. After all of my preparations, on day 9, I summoned the sunstalker. Oh, there we go, holy shit. That scared me, oh my god. Oh my god, that scared me. Hell, I got a scarf, you can't hit me. Dash. I'm like Hollow Knight up in here, I've never played it before. I never played Hollow Knight. Ow, ow. Damn, calm down. Calm down. Ow. Get out of here. Get out of here. Dash. Too bad I'm not doing more than like 3 damage per hit. What are you doing all the way over here? What the hell? Oh my god. Oop. Sorry, I'm letting my mana regen. Alright, you're done for now. Yeah! Yeah, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. The whole world is shaking. Please die, Sunstalker. Please, please, please. Yeah! Woo! Alright, Sunstalker's down. Let's go. What did I get? This was like the first actual boss fight that I'd faced, and for how simple it was quite beautiful. Sunstalker dropped the Winged Fury and the Stalker's Talon, but since neither of them were magic or summon, I did not care. What I did care about was the Sun Glyph that greatly increases my damage during the day, and it greatly increases it. Immediately after defeating the Sunstalker, I was attacked by a Royal Slime with 1,000 health that dropped a King Slime summon, but it had 1,000 health. What's this little guy doing out here with 1,000 health? I then used it to defeat the Slime King. After that fight, I made a Wandering Essence, headed on over to the Fable, and took Jack out. Oh my god, he was just summoned. Birthed right here. He's just a scarecrow though. He's just a scarecrow though. He's just a little scarecrow though. He ain't doing much. But like, actually, he ain't doing much. Ow. This is the first time I've gotten hit this entire fight. Alright, there we go. Jack is dead. Gamble! Dude, I'm just so lucky. This boss fight was easy as hell compared to the Sunstalker. Like if I were to rank them, Sunstalker was like a 5 out of 10 on the difficulty scale, and Jack was like a 1. It was so easy. Jack dropped a Staff of Flame that seemed pretty good, but it just wasn't. To keep this boss streak rolling, later that night I summoned and defeated the Eye of Cthulhu, and this bitch had some new moves that I was completely unprepared for. It dropped what it usually dropped, but it also gave me another Steely and a handful of Dark Essence, which is used to make the next set of weaponry. On the morning of day 10, I finally built some magic storage. I just spent most of my day mining for more tungsten ore so that I could make even more magic storage. I was going to finish out day 10 by just doing some research when suddenly these Aurorian stars began to fall from the sky. These stars were falling like crazy, and the recipes that required them needed a lot of them, so I spent the rest of the night and the morning of day 11 gathering up as much as I could. As soon as the Aurorian starfall had ended, the Ginsel army came back for round 2, which was wonderful by the way, because I wanted to make the Ginsel armor set, which requires a bunch of Ginsel metal, but the last time they were here, I was literally a single metal short, so as soon as I got that last piece of Ginsel metal, I made the armor, and I lost one of my minion slots unfortunately, but the set bonus gave me 2 Gins guards that would come and protect me. They were amazing. Now it was time to go to the Fable, but I didn't know what the Fable was like at this point in my recording, and I guess I just didn't understand what Sire told me when she said it was directly to the right of where I spawned. So I ended up exploring super far to the right and came across this new biome called the Virulent that was home to some very scary enemies, acidic water, and a tower with a painting of a very pretty lady named Lunar Veil. At the top of this tower was a note that I was unable to read because I was being Eiffel Towered by these enemies. To get away from these enemies and hopefully find an okay place to read this note, I continued traveling to the right and ran into Gia. I gave her an artifact that I had on me and she gave me a bunch of junk in return other than the quest leaf that is. She also had a shop where she sold different boss and event summons, so that was pretty cool. I then continued right trying to find literally anywhere safe in this biome to read this note, but I died before I could find such a thing. When I respawned, I could finally read the note, and to sum it all up, Azurin, a higher being from the Veil family and one of Lunar Veil's 2 sisters, is closely connected to the stars and a being named Cosmire, now known as Dreadmire. Seeking power to strengthen her bond with her sisters, Azurin gained strength through a singularity that Lunar Veil gave her, but her efforts did not see results in the closeness that she sought. She participated in Siegfried's sealing alongside Zui the Traveler, and now resides among the stars, casting Aurorian starfalls through her dreams as she awaits for her sister's return. On day 12, I finally realized what the Fable was, so I went down and disturbed that ruined tablet one final time. Alright, I'm back at full health, all my potions are cooled down, let's get this done. 3, 2, 1, disturb! Oh yeah, we're doing some mad damage right now. Oh yeah, we're doing some mad damage right now. Come on, man, I gotta wait for it to regen. Waiting for it to regen, waiting for it to regen. There we go. Ow. Ah, shit. I'm out of mana again. Ouch, shit. Break the planet, break the planet, break the planet, break the planet, break the planet. Ah, shit, all the hearts are in the wall. Oh, that sucks. I kind of needed those. Oh my god. I'm out of mana, gotta wait for it to regen. Gotta wait for it to regen. Come on, regen. Okay, it's regen. Ouch. God, I'm so dumb. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. There we go. Dreadus the Forgotten has been defeated. Let's go. Daedus the Forgotten dropped Gothivia's seal that's used to open the doors at some castle underneath the Virulent. But at this point I didn't know what the Virulent was until Sires told me a little bit later, and by then I had completely forgotten about the underground castle. She kept talking about this village that Gothivia used to live in that the Virulent took over, so I just kept walking to the right in hopes of finding some sort of village that doesn't even exist anymore because it got taken over by the Virulent. I don't know, I was so dumb while playing this. Eventually I ran into this sick ass space tree named the Illuria that had a big ass dragon circling it. A big ass dragon circling it! The dragon never attacked me, but it seemed really scary and powerful due to its 464,000 health, so I kept my distance. It took me a while, but I managed to scale the entire tree, and I found that same dragon, whose name was Nivi by the way, sleeping at the top. There was literally nothing else here, so I tried to climb down the tree and fell to my death. Once I respawned, I made both the Drippler Staff and the Starflower Staff. The Drippler Staff summoned Dripplers that would stick to enemies and spew blood everywhere, and the Starflower Staff shot out these really loud and obnoxious projectiles, but they were both really good. I then walked all the way back to the tree on day 13 and continued walking until I got to the ocean and found the Tower of Lunar Veil. I found another note inside that basically said Lunar Veil, the central figure of the Veil family, is the strongest being on the planet, a creator who gifted both life and singularities to her two sisters. She holds immense power as a collector of singularities, but this has also led to chaos and destruction in the world. Azurin took the supernova fragment while Cosmire, now Dreadmire, controls the singularity fragment. The singularities have destabilized the world, and Lumi's throne is seen as a source of much of this evil. Currently residing in the void with her sister Azurin, she can now only be brought down through a catastrophic event, which some seek to induce. Afterwards, I built some NPC housing near Gia so that I could get the jungle pylon later on. I then spent the rest of the night fighting through a blood moon so that I could stack up on terror fragments, even though I barely knew what they were used for. By the time it was day 14, I had gotten my hands on a shit ton of artifacts, so I kept them on me for the next time that I saw Gia. The next boss to defeat was Dreadmire, the sister of Lunar Veil and Azurin Veil, and to summon her, I needed to break the dread monoliths that were floating all the way over the map. Thankfully, the first one was right above my house, so I just stacked up there and broke it, but Dreadmire was not happy about this. On my way to the second dread monolith, I drank a grav potion and investigated this bit of water that was falling down near like Sire's tower, and there was a whole ass castle up here. At the top of it was Verlia's shrine that told me to come back at night with our kindred in hand. Also at the top was a chest that had an empty moonflame lantern that I assume is the kindred that is needed to use the shrine. Also, I got a pair of cloud skaters that allowed me to float down a bit before I fall. I was still pretty confused at this point, so I jumped off the castle and asked Sire herself what I'm supposed to be doing, and I was on the right track, like breaking these monoliths is what I'm supposed to be currently doing. I continued moving left until I came across the Tower of Cosmire Veil, better known as the next boss, Dreadmire. The note in her tower basically said, Cosmire, the second of Lumi's sisters, was granted the power of the cosmos, but turned to evil and demonic purposes, breaking family ties and leaving Azurin feeling incomplete. Lumi sent Cosmire Singularity as a sign of care, but Cosmire traded it to Phoenix, further corrupting her soul. Cosmire, now known as Dreadmire, awakens during blood moons, gaining reverence from those seeking evil. She is now a symbol of the red cosmos, feared and worshipped for her dark power. I walked even further left until I reached the ocean and the final tower, the Tower of Gothivia Ix. The note in her tower basically said Gothivia, of the Ix family and related to Verlia and Vixel, seeks to reconcile after the loss of her village, Govhail Castle, to acidic corruption. Her Gint's army and friends were taken by this plague. All those that survived now reside in Fable. Phoenix trapped her sister Verlia, and Gothivia journeyed to Lunar Veil for power. It is believed she took a weak singularity and bound it to Daedus the Forgotten for protection, making her one of the strongest beings, surpassing Phoenix without the need for singularity power. It is assumed that Gothivia has been training for the past 30 years to save her sister. I then remembered why I was here and circled back to the dread monolith that happened to be right above the dungeon and destroyed it, but she was getting pissed. Also, this monolith was inside some storm and next to some other structure, but the enemies there had like 1,000 health or more, and there were invisible walls preventing me from getting in. On day 15, I went back to Gia to get the Dread Monolith and to see if the NPCs that had moved in over there sold the Jungle Pylon, but they were instead selling the Forest Pylon, so I tore down the houses and moved them over just a bit to like the actual jungle. I then stacked up right above where Gia is located, broke the final Dread Monolith, and Dreadmire quite literally threatened me, but she said she needed to call Azurin, so maybe I'm like healing their family or something. Before going home, I turned all of my artifacts into Gia and pretty much just got a bunch of junk back, but I did get a better version of the box of leaves that I'd been using, and this weapon was just doing better than everything else that I currently had. From all of the monoliths, I had been getting a single Dread fragment, and now that I had all three, I combined them together to make the Dread Medallion, the summon for Dreadmire. I waited until it was night and then summoned the first Veil sister, Dreadmire. Okay, here goes nothing. 3, 2, 1. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, this might have been a bad idea. Oh, this might have been a bad idea. Oh my god, I feel like I just summoned a demon. I pretty much did just summon a demon. God damn. Oh yeah, oh my god. Okay, we're fighting unholy forces tonight. We're fighting very unholy forces tonight. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. Oh, I hate this a lot. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Oh my god, I am way too close to dying. Oh, laser beam. Oh, another laser beam. It's okay, I have crazy life regen. I have crazy life regen. I can survive this. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh! Oh my god, all of my NPCs died. Half of my NPCs died, but I managed to win. Gambling! Damn. That fight straight up reminded me of the beautiful boss fight at the end of the Starlight River mod. Like, that shit was gorgeous. Dreadmire, or you know what, I'm gonna call her Cosmire since I've defeated her. I kicked her ass. Cosmire dropped her Manifest Anxiety that did literally nothing, a bunch of Luminal Spirit Fragments, and Dreadfoil for new gear, a Dreadmire Brooch that I started using because it gives me extra 40 health, and a few sick-ass weapons that I didn't use because they either weren't magic or just used up way too much mana. Just before the net was over, I used some of the Luminal Spirit Fragments and the note that I found in Cosmire's tower to make a completion idol. On day 16, I used some of the Dreadfoil to make these Dread Gauntlets, and they were pretty fire. I then used the Goblin Battle Standard that I bought a bit ago to shit on the Goblin army. Later on, I headed on over to Sire to turn in that completion idol that I made a little bit ago, and she told me that Verlia was up next, but to get to her, I had to make a Void Key and find a temple deep in the underground snow biome. Sire also told me that Verlia had been trapped by Phoenix, which we already knew from the notes, and that Verlia needed to die in order to bring out Gothivia. Honestly, I'm pretty sure everybody in all of these notes are just evil. I think we're trying to kill every single one of them. Lunar Veil, Cosmire, Zurin, I think we're trying to kill all of them. Sire then gave me a Sire's token that can be used as a cell converter to switch a weapons class, and a reflection seeker that summoned reflections of myself. I tested these new minions on Dreadmire on day 17, and they were actually so amazing that I switched back to the Celestial Moon armor set so that I could have just one more minion. Me and my boys then headed over to the Crimson and defeated the Brain of Cthulhu, but it also had a new move, like it was raining Ichor the entire fight. I then finally got to work on my elevator. I gave up on the elevator, looked up that village that Gothivia said she lost to the Virulent on the Lunar Veil wiki, and ended up finding it underground. It looked super cool, but the enemies here were ridiculously hard. Like, I thought the surface Virulent was crazy, but it gets way worse. I stayed on here till day 18, and there was a bunch of chests with some super powerful and awesome weaponry, but it was all for classes that I'm not, so I didn't use any of it. I lied. Just before the day ended, I found a Greek Lantern in one of the chests that dealt 30 magic damage and sprayed fire like crazy. It only used 1 mana too, so I could practically fire this thing forever. I also found a Govhen shield that granted me another 8 defense, and I figured that the defense was more important than the 40 extra health, so I swapped the two. Oh, by the way, did I mention that there's this huge arena under everything that has some dragon-like beast circling it and a lady in the middle asking me to show her Verlia's Manifest of Bravery? Well, the reason, it was very unsettling. On day 19, I asked Sire for some advice since the Void Key required 2 other materials that I had no clue where to get, and she told me that there was a place near the underworld called Cinder Spark that I should start there. Just as I was about to continue the elevator to actually get to Cinder Spark, a new NPC named Amok respawned and she sold some potions and other basic accessories. I then got to work on the elevator for the rest of the day. I was just minding my own business, mining down on day 20, when all of a sudden everything went dark and my health just dropped. I had no clue what that was about, but I figured that whatever was below the elevator didn't want me to be there just yet, so I veered off to the left and continued. While I was mining, my screen suddenly got clouded with smoke, so I figured that I was almost to Cinderspark, but immediately after this discovery, I was killed by a big-ass jellyfish. On my way back down, I found the Goblin Tinkerer, so I bought some rocket boots in a tinkerer's workshop and then made myself some lightning boots. I then finally made it to Cinderspark and asked Sire what this place was, and she said this place is burned from the singularity lurking here and that apparently Siegfried is trapped somewhere down here. The material I was here to get was molten scrap, and I needed quite a bit of it, so I spent the rest of the night and the morning of day 21 farming the annoying ass enemies down here. Eventually I had what I thought was enough molten scrap, so I grabbed an obsidian skin potion from home and mined a bit further down into hell to get a bunch of hellstone. I then decided to explore the Cinderspark a bit, and just a little bit to the right of where I was farming the enemies was this big ass underground castle. I couldn't really explore any of it on day 21 because I had to wait for all the lava to drain out of it, but on day 22 I took a little look around and found a bunch of chests with some sick looking weapons inside, but I didn't use any of them because they all either sucked or weren't a part of my class. At the center of this castle was a man named Orden the Allurian Monarch, and he had a shop that had a bunch of cool things, but it took a bunch of different manifested emotions as currency, like the manifested anxiety that I got from Cosmire. Orden also had an option to reminisce of Siegfried, and when I chose it, he just gave me a Siegfried's photo album, and this item did nothing yet. When I got home, I made a fabled Marrowed Whip that dealt 43 summon damage and said that my minions would deal tremendous amounts of damage to the enemy that was targeted, but my minions dealt so much damage already that I couldn't really see any improvement against normal enemies. I ended the night by making some housing in the snow biome. I remember that Sire told me to go look for a temple in the underground snow biome once the Void Key was made, but I had no other leads as to where this other material for the Void Key was, so I decided to just find the temple and go from there. I didn't even mine that far down before reaching the temple, and surrounding it was a biome called the Abyssum. There were these vanishing skull enemies named Abyssal Skulls that dropped exactly what I needed, convolging matter. I farmed these guys for a bit and then headed back home and made the Void Key on day 24. I then used the leftover Hellstone to make 2 magic weapons, and both of them sucked. It was now time to get some shit done, so I headed back to the temple in the underground snow biome and finally used the Void Key to get it open. It was dark as shit inside, but the chest didn't really have anything of use other than an accessory that allows me to see a bit better, and at the center of the temple was an arena, which I assume is for the next boss, Singularity Fragment. I spent the rest of the day just exploring this place. I attempted the boss on day 25, but this beginning phase was batshit crazy. Like, I had no clue what was going on. I failed a couple more times, but about halfway through the day, I destroyed the Singularity Fragment. Okay, let's try this again. 3, 2, 1. Oh, okay. Okay, so far so good. Holy shit. Holy shit, so far so good. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, that worked out beautifully, actually. Oh my god. Oh. Okay. Oh, thank god that laser didn't hit me. Oh my god. No gamble this time. No gamble this time. I love this boss fight so much. Like actually so much. It reminds me of the Oracle fight from the Starlight River mod, and I love that fight so much. From the Singularity Fragment, I got a bunch of Spatial Distortion Fragments, a shitty summon, and the last thing I needed to summon Verlia, a Void Lantern. I used some of the Spatial Distortion Fragments to make a Vehement Rhapsody. I tested it out on some of those pumpkin slimes, and it performed so well, I ended up being blinded by how bad it was in comparison to my boys. Before starting my brawl with Verlia, I wanted to know who the hell the magical engineer Delgrim was, so I mined all the way down there, and he's just some guy that sells materials to make more techie-esque weapons. He was also an old member of some city named Harboring Morrow that was under the protection of Gothivia, Verlia, and that chick we saw under the virulent Aradia, so it's really gonna suck when I tell him that I killed all of them later on. On day 26, I started to realize how bad this new summon was, so I tried to do a combination of this guy and one of my boys. I tested them against the Skeletron, and yes, they won, but it just wasn't the same without all of my boys going apeshit on him. I explored the dungeon for a bit, but all I got out of it was a bewitching table. Later in the day, I came to my senses and realized that having 4 of my boys out at once would go crazy, so I tested this out against the King Slime, and it was amazing. I spent the rest of the night in hell farming imps for an obsidian rose because apparently I still needed one more thing to make the summon for Verlia. I continued doing this for all of day 27 with a little break in between so that I could get the snow pylon. On day 28, instead of staying in the same area waiting for imps to spawn, I started making the Hell Highway so that I could multitask, and towards the end of the night, I managed to get an obsidian rose and make the Moon Flame Lantern. Also, apparently the mod updated and completely got rid of the cloud skates that I had been using to get around, so those are gone forever. All I had to do was wait for night, so I spent the morning of day 29 looking for frozen chests so that I can make this backpack that would allow me to use advanced brooches instead of just the simple ones. They're pretty much just better accessories. After spending a bunch of my time finding just one chest, I gave up on that and went home to build some more NPC housing. Once night arrived, I made my way to the top of the cathedral, released Verlia's soul, and she said, "I'm finally free. This is so exciting, thank you." Wait, what are you doing with that lantern? You shouldn't have that. You're definitely here to kill me, aren't you? Working under Phoenix, I assume? No matter. I'll finish my business here and go find my sister. You have my thanks, but you will not be finishing me off. And she was right. She was absolutely right. As much as I wanted to finish her off, I was murdered quite brutally. I went back and tried again, and again, and then waited till the next night and tried again, but I just could not handle her barrage of beautifully crafted attacks. Eventually, super early on day 31, I bested Verlia of the Moon. What an outstandingly beautiful boss fight. Like, this mod is some delicious fine dining, and it's making every other mod look like some middle school lunch. Brillia dropped a stolen magic tome, her manifested bravery, a hat that I really considered wearing, and some pearlescent scrap. The stolen magic tome and the pearlescent scrap are both used as materials to make these quest completion items that are supposed to be turned into someone named Marina for rewards, but I have no clue who that is and no clue where to find them. The pearlescent scrap is also used for the next set of gear, but most of it isn't accessible until hard mode. I then asked Sire what to do next, and she told me to just get to hard mode and then check back in with her. Before heading home, I stopped at my boy Dugram's place and bought a bunch of blank orbs and brooches for future crafting. Once I was home, I made a Charm of Rot that grants me an 8% increase in my summon damage, but I only made it so that I could use it to make something else way later on. I also upgraded my Steely to the Shady, which allows me to dash way more often, among other things like plus 10 health and increased life regen. Finally, I made the actual moon. It's an orb type summon weapon that deals 88 damage, and this shit was crazy good, like actually unbelievably good. I then said fuck it and summoned the Wall of Flesh with an incomplete Hell Highway because I was expecting its health to be normal, but it wasn't. Instead of its typical 11,200 health on expert mode, this bitch had 21,280 health. But this posed no problem for me as I defeated it within the confines of the unfinished Hell Highway with plenty of health left over. I got the usual stuff from the Wall of Flesh, but what stood out was a Catacombs key that is used to enter the catacombs in the Veil biome with a well under the Aurorian sky. Also, after the fight, I got a status message that reads, "The Abysm and Virulent Stir," which just meant that there was some new enemies that dropped new shit. I was just doing some research into new shit to make on day 32 when all of a sudden a boss named Star Bomber crashed down and marked the shit out of me. Like even with my new weapon, I was dealing like a max of 30 damage. After fleeing from that guy, I went down to the Abysm to get one of the two new materials, Eldritch Souls. I got like 60 of them before deciding that I had enough, but I did return home once in between to make a bottle of Grail that gave me an extra summon and added the vortex shader to the background, and I didn't realize this item was causing like this vortex background issue until like day 38, so just bear with it please. I then went over to the Ruin to get the other new material, Contaminated Souls. I again got like 60 of them before deciding that I had enough and returned home. There were a few items that I wanted to make using these new materials, but they all required Souls of Flight, so I went up to a Cloud Island on day 33 and farmed for some wyverns. After getting enough Souls of Flight, I upgraded my boots to the Soul Striders, and the only difference was that I was much faster. I then realized that to make the other things I wanted to, I needed an Orichalcum Anvil, so I broke some altars and got to mining the hard mode ores. I finished mining on day 34, made the Cum Anvil, and got myself some Shade Wraith wings, and these bad boys took me very, very high. Like, they're much better than the Pixie wings or the Angel and Demon wings. The last item I wanted to make was a new summon, but I needed more pearlescent scrap for that, and to get that, I would need it to be night. So in the meantime, I checked out the catacombs. There were 3 different rooms, lava, water, and trap, all with altars in the middle that needed these cursed shards to be awakened. So I returned home, made a bunch, came back, and awoke the first altar. But these guys were hard as shit, dude. They were so difficult, they just kept duplicating. There are 2 different bosses per room, and I got pretty much nothing of value here other than this sick-ass outfit. Like, check me out, I look so good. I got too invested in the catacombs area because I wanted to beat all the mini-bosses that I completely forgot about fighting Verlia again, so I slept through the entire day, failed a bunch of times, and then defeated her again on day 36. With the extra pearlescent scrap, I made the Thunder Staff. It summons these cute little clouds that perform different attacks based on the number of summons that I have, and since I can have 5, they all shoot little vortexes. It was now time for the next boss, Aradia, the girl that like co-owned a city with Gothivia and Verlia. Turns out that she was that weird-ass chick at the bottom of Gavhail Castle, and by showing her Verlia's manifested bravery, I basically pissed her off real good. Like, she said she would mangle my corpse and showcase it to everyone. I gave it a good shot on my first attempt, but ultimately failed. I did this again on my second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, and fifth attempt, but her little gizmos were proving to be way too much for me to handle. After a lot of trial and error, on day 37 I fought Aradia for the final time. This boss fight was less hard and more annoying as fuck with all the random shit that would spawn and the fact that sometimes Aradia would just get stuck in the wall. She dropped nothing of use other than her manifested commitment that I had no clue what it did, and a Brooch of the Sun and Ichor that would cause Ichor blasts when attacking enemies, but I still didn't get all the frozen chests to make the advanced Brooch's backpack, so I couldn't use it. After checking out my loot, I had enough of this stupid ass vortex shader, but I still had no clue what was causing it at this point, so I did a bunch of googling and found absolutely nothing. I then joined another world to see like if it would happen there, and it did, so all I had to do was take off everything to figure out what was causing it. It was the stupid ass bottle of Grail that I made to get an extra summon. I replaced it with the Charmer Rot that I made a bit ago that just grants me another 8% summon damage. I was gonna go back and refight Aradia again so that there wouldn't be a stupid ass blue luminance to everything for the video, but I guess Gothivia is here now, and that robot dragon thing that was circling Aradia was now circling her. I don't know if they're like the same or different, but she has one. Also, it was all green when I went down there instead of blue, so I didn't refight Aradia. On day 38, I decided to go explore that one whack-ass area above the dungeon, you know, the one that's like in the purple storm or whatever. It's known as the Royal Capital, and up there I met a lonely, feeble sorceress and somebody named Marina the Sorcerer. Marina had a really shitty selection in her shop, but she did have some quests for me to go on. The first one being to kill Verlia, which I had already done, so I crafted the quest item and turned it in. Her next quest was for me to find some sort of orb in an underground Marrowed village, but I had no clue where this Marrowed village was, so I went home and made a short platform for the mech bosses that were up next. I also made the completion idol for defeating Aradia and turned it in for pretty much nothing. Sire didn't give me anything good for it. I figured that the mech bosses would be pretty easy compared to the bosses that I've faced up to now, so I made a summon for each of them and managed to defeat the twins and the destroyer by the morning of day 39. There was really nothing to do until night, so I used the hollowed bars that I got to make a potion of the hollow wand that summoned hollowed potions to rain down on enemies. When night arrived, an Aurorian Starfall started and summoned a Star Bomber, which I was actually able to beat this time around, but I didn't get anything good from it other than a Star Core that's used in some much needed things later on. Since I now knew I had the power to take these guys out, I dedicated the rest of the night to defeating a whole bunch of them. By day 40, I had plenty of Star Cores, and I used one of them to make the Twin Star Bombas, another orb-type summon weapon that allows me to wield 2 orbs instead of just 1 at the cost of some damage, and these were way cooler than the actual moon I was using. Afterwards, I headed on down to where that unknown signal source was on the map, and it turns out that I can't do anything here unless I have one of 3 focal crystals, so I kinda just forgot about this place for now. While trying to get to this place, I finally got a new summon called the Centipede Staff that summons an Aravehale landworm, I think that's how you pronounce it, that grows longer and stronger depending on how many minion slots are used, and this guy was fire. This guy was so good, like it was doing hundreds of damage a hit. I didn't really do anything else until night where I defeated the Skeletron Prime. After the Skeletron Prime fight, I deemed the actual moon as better than the Twin Star Bombas, but that's just cause I'm stupid as hell. The Twin Star Bombas were better. Again, I'm just stupid. The next boss was just a mini-boss named Cilia, and to find her I would have to interact with a strange anomaly that lies within the underworld ruins. So I made my way all the way over to the left side of hell, and once I was there, I was greeted by a very scary looking underworld rift that when poked summoned Cilia, and she meant business. Like it's probably because my defense is at like 12, but each hit was dealing well over 100 damage. I made my way back over there a few times to clean up the arena and try again, but I had no luck. When night arrived, another Aurorian Starfall happened, so I just spent the rest of the night and the morning of day 42 farming Star Bombas. Eventually, I'd finally gotten what I wanted from the Star Bombas all along, Star Silk, so that I can make the elegant armor set that provides me with an extra minion slot, more summon damage, and more health. I was feeling better prepared for Cilia, so I made my way back over there, made a little house to respawn at, and attempted her more times than I am proud of. I thought that I was doing pretty good one attempt when all of a sudden she just stopped moving and summoned her own wall of flesh, and after that I died. Obviously I died. Obviously I would die. After that attempt, I spent all of day 43 building another Hell Highway, this time on the left side of Hell, that ended up being even longer than the first one I made. Once it was done, I was finally able to beat Cilia. This boss was much less annoying than the last one, and this one was actually cool. It was actually cool. It didn't just throw shit at you. It was unique. Celia dropped some sick-ass miracle wings that were kind of like the Celestial Starboard from the Moonlord, a sewing kit that allows you to change up the new weapons you can make with the miracle thread that she also dropped, and everything else was equipment for being a sentry summoner, so I didn't use that because I don't fuck with sentries. I figured I might need some more miracle thread, so I defeated Celia one more time before returning home. I first made the Lacerator, a whip that deals a whopping 187 summon damage, and it was just your standard whip, like it didn't do anything fancy. Then I made the X Scissor, but it required mana, so it kind of sucked, I didn't use it. Finally, I made the Pot of Greed, a sentry that summons a shadow-like version of your current minion, but it only works when either... I can't remember if it's with you when you're near it, or it's when like an enemy is near it, but it's kind of sucked. It was inconvenient, I didn't use it. I then equipped the sewing kit that I got to switch up the Lacerator to its like different like version or whatever, and it hit 3 times faster, so I chose this to be my new weapon. I tested this guy out in the Virulent, and it did not disappoint. It was doing so well. Afterwards, I wanted to make a new in-source for my flask that would heal me for 200 health with a 40-second cooldown and give me buffs like Swiftness and Iron Skin for 20 seconds, but it required that headpiece from Aradia, and I didn't have it because I'd already used it for the completion idol, so I was gonna need another one. I tried to kill this bitch for like half of day 45, but I just couldn't. Despite me having new armor, new gear, new everything, I just could not defeat it since all of like the new enemies in the Virulent, after Aradia was defeated, they just kept third-partying me. They kept coming to the arena and killing me. It was so annoying. Eventually, I just gave up and spent the rest of the day building a Plantera arena. I defeated the Plantera pretty early on day 46, and immediately after it died, Zui reached out to me saying that Sire asked her to train me before taking on the rest of the bosses. She also said that someone named Ureshkigel, I probably butchered that, but whoever this is preventing me from entering the Jungle Temple, and that after my training was done, she would convince this person to help me out. Now, typically, I would go defeat the Golem like in normal Terraria, but the progression for Terraria had been completely rearranged now, because I got a Temple Key mold from the Plantera instead of the Temple Key. But Zui said that I should defeat her next, and I didn't know this at the time, but this would be the worst part of the mod, the absolute worst garbage part of the mod. I went over to Zui and bought the Radiant Sigil that's used to summon her, and she recommended that I have a very long platform for this fight, since I won't be able to fly during it for some reason, but I completely disregarded that and just tried to fight her over and over and over again, but I was having no luck with it. I should have prepared beforehand. I don't know why I didn't prepare beforehand. I do this a lot for boss fights. I just don't prepare. I don't prepare, and then I get upset that I keep losing. This obviously wasn't working, so I headed on over to the dungeon to get some ectoplasm, bought some armor drives from Delgrim, and used them all to make the scrappy armor set that gave me more summon damage, 30 more defense, because my defense with the old armor set was only at like 10, and a turret that shoots a laser beam. I continued trying to defeat Zui, but I was having no luck at all. This went on for days. I would summon Zui and pretty much immediately die. Like I wouldn't even last like 30 seconds. Every now and then in between attempts, I would make slight like extensions to the platform, but I was just coping. Like I wasn't gonna be able to beat this boss if I couldn't dodge her attacks. Eventually, after hours of trying to beat this boss, on day 55, I was able to best Zui the Radiance. Come on, baby, just fucking run. I know I've said that every single fucking time, but like... Come on, it's the fucking run. Come on, baby, this is the fucking run. What the fuck is going on? yes! Oh my god! Oh my god, finally! Oh! Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Yeah, I just came. Holy fuck, dude. This fight was hands down the most annoying boss I've ever fought in Terraria, or any game for that matter, for my entire life. Like, worse than the Supreme Calamitas, worse than the Primordials, worse than the Inferno mode Brain of Cthulhu. If you've seen that video I made, I struggled for hours, but I think this was worse. Immediately after I won, Zui told me that the Urshikigol person or whatever is obsessed with Siegfried, and that the reason that the Jungle Temple was locked in the first place was to trap Siegfried inside with her so that he would pay more attention to her. Zui then said some magic was cast on me so that I could enter the area where the Singularity Fragment was being kept and destroy it. She marked this area on my map, and apparently it was the area that almost murdered me while I was making my elevator earlier. Zui dropped a Magician's Code that gave me more summon damage, more minions, more life regen, more health, and I took less damage. I equipped this right away because screw the stupid laser beam or whatever set bonus that armor gave me, because this Magician's Code hat was wonderful. She also dropped a bunch of Ready Anui bars that are used to craft the next set of gear. I started by making an Ishtar key so that I could open up the chest around the Singularity Fragment. I then made the Pollinator, another orb type summon weapon that deals 445 goddamn damage. 445 damage. That's ridiculous compared to what I was just using that did like, what, less than 100 damage or something, and it slows down enemies with each hit. I tested it out on the Solar Eclipse enemies, and it was the perfect weapon. It was literally like one hitting like most of them. During the Eclipse, I beat Zui a couple more times as well to get more Radiant Nui bars. On day 57, I used the Radiant Nui bars to combine my boots with my scarf and make the Radiant Spark boots that had the effects of both items, among some other things like more health and damage. I then found the last two ice chests that I needed, made an advanced Brooches backpack, then upgraded that to the Radiant Brooches backpack. The backpack itself didn't really do anything other than give me like an 8% increase to my damage, but it allowed me to start using the better brooches that I could make, like this one that gives me 2 more summons and the set bonus from the Forbidden Armor. To make this brooch, I was going to need the brooch drop from Daedalus the Forgotten, one of the bosses from the very beginning of this mod, so I went to go farm him on day 58, but I could only attempt it like once a day since he could not raise his axe to one of such dedication to our goddess Gothivia, which was kinda weird because I definitely planned on killing her. Anyways, I gave up on it for now and just equipped the Brooch with the Sun and Ichor that sent out Ichor blasts when hitting enemies. I then spent the rest of the day and a bunch of the next doing the entire quest line for Merida, like every single quest that she had. I'm not going to bore you with all of the details since the quests were just kind of like, they were just tedious chores like making 100 dust bags, but I was doing all of this so that Merida would start selling the Wick of Sorcery in her shop because it's used for a lot of summoner based weapons. All I needed to finish up the last quest was 6 more Star Silk, but that stuff only drops from the Star Bombers, so while I waited for another Aurorian Starfall, I went to go investigate the Ishtar pin location on day 61. This place was just a big maze with chests filled with garbage, but at the bottom of it was what I can only assume to be a black hole, and that Urshikigol girl that Zui was talking about earlier. I gave the Siegfried's photo album that I got from Orden a little bit ago to her, and she gave me a voidal passageway that's used to summon Azuran Singularity, the Supernova Fragment. Once I got home, I used it like inside my house, and for some reason I expected it to like teleport me away somewhere like that another rock that I had at the very beginning of this mod, but it just summoned the boss right in my house. I'm so sorry, Oklah. I lost that first attempt, obviously, but on my second attempt I managed to destroy the Singularity. So far, this boss fight is easy as hell. I just made a couple of mistakes that first time around. Okay, so these things don't even hurt me. Oh, okay, yeah, they're just there to keep me in here. So that's it. Well, there we go. Thank you, Worm, for breaking everything I needed you to break. I don't know what's going on. Okay, never mind. It's just... so, this boss wasn't too hard at all. Okay, that was it. Alright, that was it. Gambling! That's it. That fight was unbelievably easy compared to Zui. Like they were literally night and day. I don't know why Zui was so much more difficult, but this fight was like nothing. It dropped the other piece, the jungle temple key, and some super fragments that aren't used until later, but that was it. There was no gear or anything. That was it. So I asked Sire what to do next, and she was still going on about how I should kill Aradia if I hadn't already. So I just decided to ignore Sire and spent the rest of the day searching for the jungle temple. I found the jungle temple about halfway through day 62 and just barely managed to take out the golem on my first try. Up next was more training, but against Phoenix this time, so I headed on over to the royal capital and made myself a little home to respawn in, hoping that Phoenix, because she's like the queen of this place, wasn't going to tax me for living there. An Aurorian starfall had started during my move, so I spent the rest of the night waiting for a star bomber to spawn. One finally spawned on day 63 and gave me the rest of the star silk that I needed, so I made the Tome of Infinite Sorcery, gave it to Marina, and I can now buy Wicks of Wisdom, but it had kind of been too long now, and everything I was gonna make was ass now. I spent the rest of the day trying and failing to defeat Phoenix. I guess I had learned pretty well from the Zui fight, because despite how difficult this fight looks with Phoenix, on day 64 I managed to take her out. Let's go. This boss fight was difficult, but thankfully I was starting to learn to use the Shady's invincibility dash to dodge into attacks instead of away from them. I again got nothing, so I got straight to defeating the lunatic cultist. I spent the next 2 days getting through the lunar events, but for some reason there weren't any weapons to make with the new fragments that I got from all of the pillars, so I just sucked it up and took out the Moonlord on my first try. And then I asked Sire what was next, and she actually told me something useful. She said it was now time to take down Gothivia and that serpent that was circling her. that was it. That's all she told me. It wasn't actually that useful. I already knew that. The only thing that I could make with Luminite was the Jianjin armor set. I'm sure I butchered that, but after looking at it, I wasn't fully convinced that this armor would be better than the Stardust armor. I needed some more super fragments from the Supernova fragment to make this armor, so I made the Stardust armor and summoned it thinking that this fight would be easy as hell, but for some reason I lost it 7 times in a row before finally beating it on day 67. I don't know what was up because I beat it on my second try earlier. I don't know why I couldn't beat it, but it whatever. Finally, oh my god. During this time, I replaced my ugly ass centipede with the Stardust Dragon. I then made the armor, and I would say this shit was amazing because it gave me significantly more defense at the cost of like 10 damage and gave me a bunch of other buffs, but you'll see why I'm not happy with it soon. It was time to fight the next boss, so I tried to defeat Rek without an arena. It obviously didn't go well. After making a little platform to stand on, I spent the next 10 days trying to defeat this godforsaken boss. This boss was so goddamn hard because, and here's why I'm not happy about the armor, it doesn't matter. The armor doesn't matter at all. 90% of the attacks from this boss insta-kill you, like its dashing, the crystal laser, the eyeball laser, they all deal well over 500 damage. To make matters even worse, the attacks that didn't immediately vaporize me lowered my overall health to points where I would start the fight with over 500 health and end it with less than half. This fight helped me realize that being a summoner just wasn't working anymore, so I made a full switch to magic. I swapped out the Alkanine for the Royal Capital's Magical Brooch that gave me another 100 mana, 50 health, 20% magic damage, the effects of the Mana Cuffs and Magic Flower, and all magic costs for all weapons was reduced by 95%. 95%, which it pretty much meant I was either going to spend 1 mana for an attack or none at all. I also swapped out the Brooch of Sun and Ichor for the Radiated Dreadrose Brooch so that I could have another 80 health and a shield that blocks some attacks, and started using the Binkle Fracture, however you pronounce that dealt over 200 damage. After all of these improvements and a lot more grinding, I was finally able to defeat Rek, the Burning Serpent, on day 73. Come on, brother, come on. Come on. Come on. Yes! Yes! Oh my god, I don't even have words or the energy to scream right now that I won. Oh my god, it's finally over. Oh my god. 2 bosses left, Wreck is down, thank god. I think this mod had been the best collection of god-awful, horrible bosses that make me want to kill myself. Wreck dropped a throwing weapon called Strong You're Fired, and it was fucking insane. Like absolutely insane. I went from dealing a couple hundred damage a hit to a couple thousand damage. I'll show you soon. I already knew what to do, but I asked Sire for advice anyways, and she told me to kill Gothivia and that she would take it from there. But I had one last thing to do before this final battle between gods. I returned home on day 74 and swapped out the Royal Capital's Magical Brooch for the Radiated Sun and Moon Brooch, pretty much just for the 15% increase in throwing damage. I then headed over to Illyria and took on that big ass dragon that slept there, and this bitch was hard, dude. It was so hard. I won't sugarcoat it or anything, like it still took me a billion attempts to beat this boss, but this boss was much easier than Wreck, like much easier. They're in completely different dimensions of difficulty, mainly because the boss and Nivi's attacks don't insta-kill you. I don't want to spoil any more of this fight because it's actually so beautiful. So on day 80, I defeated my favorite boss in this mod, Nivi, the First Dragon. Oh shit. Okay, Jesus. Okay. So far so good, I'm at full fucking health. Let's go. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Okay, don't fuck up now. What is going on? Why is it taking forever to die? Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Why was he taking forever to die? Don't do that to my heart, dude. Holy shit. Oh my god. That was ridiculous. Oh my god, my heart rate's at like 140 right now. Oh, okay. That boss fight had been my favorite fight by far, and it was absolutely beautiful. Like it was nothing like I had ever seen from any Terraria mod. Nivea dropped a Pure Heart that kinda shits on me for killing her because it was technically not necessary, but this Pure Heart makes the final weapon for each class for the final boss fight, so I needed it. Now, all of the weapons looked really cool, but me being the way that I am, I decided to go with the summon that deals less than 200 damage, instead of the gun that deals well over 1,000, and this was such a big mistake. I then headed on over to where Gothivia was on day 81 and got my ass handed to me over and over and over again before coming to the realization that every attack this boss dealt was an instant kill. Every single attack was an instant kill. At first I couldn't even comprehend what was going on in this fight with my new summons and her attacks and the background change immediately after she started attacking me. It was just a lot to take in. After the first couple of days, I began to understand each attack, so instead of spamming the dash like I was doing in the beginning, I was now strategically dashing into each attack she gave out. It was a long series of struggling, having good runs. Bitch, why was there so many in a row? Having bad runs. I'm gonna give it like 1 or 2 more goes, then call it a night. And eventually, after mastering each and every single attack in her arsenal, I defeated Gothivia, the Green Sun. Now you see, what you just heard was a pre-recording. It was a pre-recording. I hadn't actually beaten the boss yet. It was a pre-recording for when I beat the boss, because I was going to beat it today, just now when I am recording this audio. But guess what? I couldn't beat it. I could not beat her. No matter what I did, I could not beat her. Not for the life of me. I struggled for, how long did my recording go on for today? 3 hours, and now another 3 hours. I've been fighting this boss, because I didn't just fight this boss today. I've been fighting this boss for probably around 10 hours now. 10 hours, and I haven't been able to beat it. No matter what I've done, no matter what I've tried, what I've tried, I don't know. I have not beat it, and I cannot beat it. Maybe the dev of this mod should be like, maybe I shouldn't make all of the bosses have 500,000 health and deal more than 1,000 damage a hit. Maybe I should make a balanced mod. No, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. It was such bullshit, dude. The last 3 bosses, all instant kill attacks, all well over 100,000 health. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. There was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could do. I'm not a no-hitter. I don't play this game and try to no-hit all the bosses. That's just not what I do. I'm not good at that type of thing. And here I am trying to do it and failing miserably for hours and hours on end. It's ridiculous. I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm so disappointed that I couldn't beat it, but at the same time, this mod is so horribly unbalanced towards the end that I don't even care that I didn't beat it. This mod doesn't deserve me beating it right now. It just doesn't deserve me beating it, because it doesn't deserve anybody beating it. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Each attack dealing thousands of health when you, the player, only have a max of like 700 is ridiculous. It makes armor literally obsolete. Armor was absolutely obsolete. There was no point in using it. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't know. I know this isn't satisfying at all, but here's the best run I got. Here's the best run that I got. I didn't beat her, but watch what could have been. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh